So we'll turn the system off in reverse from the way that we turn it on. It can be done in multiple ways, but if you do it wrong, then the next Sunday you could have problems because certain things don't like to talk to each other if they're turned off. It's just a complicated system. So in order to turn everything off, we need to start up here and we'll go right to left. On the soundboard, which you usually have displayed up here, you need to mute the front of house. If you don't mute the front of house, then you'll have a loud popping noise when you turn off the stage. And this is what you would see for the soundboard. There's an application here called GLD Editor. That's the soundboard. Yeah, so when all the programs are on the screen, your soundboard is likely going to be one of them. It takes a certain step to close it out. So right here on the far right side of the soundboard, it says FOH for front of house. It also says main above that. You just take the mouse and select mute, and it'll turn it from a gray color to a red. No, so this side of the soundboard on the left, it will never change in terms of what it looks like, other than if you purposely adjust something. The left side is different. It'll change based off what button you select, but this right side will stay the same. So all you need to do before turning off the stage is turning off the front of house, which is this mute button below FOH. It'll go from gray to red. When it's red, it's muted. When it's gray, it's unmuted.
Okay.
But first I'm going to close out all of our programs so that I don't break them. So this first one here is just the soundboard. I'm just going to hit connection and tell it to disconnect, and then hit the X to exit that program. And this next one that says Atom Software Control, ATEM, it's for this camera system. That doesn't need anything special. It can just close, and then everything else is just pop-up windows that can close. So this monitor is connected to this Mac Mini here. This device here is the actual computer. This is the Mac Mini itself, and this is just a random display. It's an Insignia, and it ties in with this remote that says Insignia on the bottom.
Okay.
It also says Insignia on the screen. So this we just leave running, and all you do is hit the power button and it turns off the display, because this doesn't use very much power and it's just easier that way. So now I need to turn off the cameras because I need to go right to left. So this is a Samsung Smart TV. Well, it's not Smart TV, but it's a Samsung TV, and it goes with this Samsung remote. All you do there is hit that power button, turn it off.
Okay.
But that's just the display. The actual work is done in this device. This is the controls for the cameras. So to turn these off, there's a little switch here in the back left. So you need to flip that switch, and then you need to move on to this. We have two cameras. We have one on this wall right above the doors when you walk in, and then we have one on the left side of the sanctuary. Just a computer rack, because it has these slots. It can hold multiple devices, so it has these 4 different segments in them. You're still working on the cameras when you get to this box. You power down the cameras, but they're still connected. So what you need to do for security reasons, or rather safety reasons, if the church was to get struck by lightning and there was a surge, it's not likely because everything is in surge protectors, but it's still possible. And because they're expensive, we just don't take the precaution, or we take the precaution, and you unplug these first 2 on the left, which are for the cameras. You just unplug them from this little switch goes into, so everything talks to itself.
Okay.
These first two are going to be the camera. It's here on the front of the display. You can just pinch it and pull it out, and you saw the screen went away. And then you can also pinch the second one and pull it out, and that's the other camera. That's just for safety, so we don't fry the cameras or we don't ruin the cables. It's not a necessity, but it's just good practice. There's a port for these cables to plug into. The first two ports, they're labeled 1 and 2 on this 10-port switch.
Okay.
And these two cables just sit right in front of them. Cable 1 does have a label on it. It says Cam 1 LAN.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter so much, but they sit right in front of it, so it's pretty easy to remember which one goes where. So after we unplug these, you have to plug those in and unplug them because that provides power to the cameras. They get power over these lines.
Okay.
After we unplug that, the stage is attached to this box. When I do it so quickly. Yes, the rack is attached to this box. And when I flip power, if I flip power without going onto the stage first and taking care of what I need to do there, then you'll hear a loud pop, because the stage box on the stage provides all the instrument stuff. It's attached to this power button.
Okay.
It doesn't provide it power, but there are boxes up there connected to that stage box that are also connected to this.
Okay.
And so it's just good practice. So that's what I address here. I unplug the cameras, and then I leave that be until the very end, the last thing. So we've worked right to left up until this box, which is, you can turn that off, I just don't until the end. I tend to go left to right. It doesn't really matter. It's just more efficient. But I go up the steps on the left side, and there's a switch on the floor you can flip, and that'll turn off that left speaker. And then you go into the drum cage, and there's 2 more switches just like that. One will turn off the light that's in there for whoever's in the drum cage, and the other will turn off the power to the first light bar. Do the same thing. So there's another black cloth. You pull the cloth away, you'll see a little power strip, and you flip the switch on the power strip, and it'll turn off the speaker directly above the right side of the stage. Right, so after you have turned off the stage, you have to come back up here upstairs and turn off the lights, the switcher box, and the computer, the iMac. So there's buttons up here you really need to just ignore, because it's going to be tempting to push them because they're lit up, but without knowing how the soundboard works, you could screw it up just by pushing the buttons. So there's one over here labeled master. I would just, to keep it simple, I would drop the master, just lower the master. It's a slider. All of these buttons up here slide up and down. There's one labeled master. It's the far right slider.
Okay.
To make it easy, if it'll be all the way up at 10, because it's labeled 0 through 10 on here for the intensity of the light. If you slide it all the way down to 0, then you can look out at the stage, all the lights should be off. Then there's a button up here that says mode, and it has a little power symbol on it. You have to push that button, it's a blue button, and then it says shutdown requested, either abort or confirm. And there's a no on the left side of this dial, and there's a yes on the right side. The yes has a check mark, so you select yes to confirm that you want to shut it down, you want to turn off the lights. The light board turns off, and then you have to come up here to these switches. So these switches are run to the stage as well. So when someone needs to plug in a guitar or a microphone or anything, that stage box is powered through these switches. So you have to turn it off left to right. So just 1, 2, 3. And now the stage is off. These top switches, you can ignore these. These just turn on the can lights, which we don't use very much. So with these switches, you have to go left to right You kind of pause in between them just because that's what we've always done. I don't really know why, but we just pop, pop, pop,
Okay.
push them down. So then we continue to shut off upstairs. So we finally go back to this box, and it's as simple as this big button here that says on, off, and power. You flip that down. And then for the computer, we used to put it to sleep, and we no longer put it to sleep, which is just blinking out the screen like we do with the Mac Mini, because the computer broke once. So now I just shut it down completely so that nothing on the computer is running, because it's an older computer. So it's shut down, it'll completely power off. And then after that's off, you can come over here. And this far remote against the wall has a cord attached to it. This cord runs to the projector. So when you flip the red switch on that switcher, you can look at the projector screen and you'll see an emblem of, I think it's the church on the river or road. So you can look at that and you can obviously tell the projector's still on. Well, this remote turns the projector on and off. So there's an on and there's a standby. Both are orange buttons. One's larger than the other. Standby is the one on the right, and it's a little smaller. So that's going to turn it off if you hit standby, and you'll hear it beep. And then it just beeped. So now the projector's off and everything up here is off, and you're ready to do your final step, which is turning off the soundboard. Alright, so like you said, this is the downstairs soundboard. It was electronically controlled up there, but you still have the physical element down here. So we want to make sure that everything we need muted is muted, which we've already done. Mainly this far right one that says FOH, and it's a separate color from everything else. It's green. It also says main. Make sure it's still muted, because if that's muted, nothing else will make a sound. It's labeled main, and right below that it says front of, or actually says FOH, front of house, which is those speakers up there on the stage. So confirming that those are muted, you can start with this box. This box is this box here on the right. This one that's lit up, it has all these numbers and everything. This is for the handheld mic that we use for announcements or a guest speaker or anything else. It has one switch here on the right side of the box that powers it on. If you just flip it down, the light will go out. That box is off. So then you can come back to the soundboard, and looking in the top right of the screen, there's a button. It's a touch screen. So you push the button that says power down. It'll ask you power down. Do you want to shut down? Press yes or no to continue. So you press yes, and it kind of makes a click noise, and all this kind of starts to look powering down. It says it is now safe to power off your GLD, which is the soundboard. So reaching back here, you will feel like a little fan, a little circle. You look to the left of that, there's a switch, just like this one had. You flip that switch off, and the whole board is powered off. So then we just take the cover, which is down here, and we cover it up just to keep dust off of the electronics and keep people from tampering with it. Now everything is turned off.